go ahead and call the Tuesday, January 5th, 2021 Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. Before we begin, let me just mention that we are following the COVID-19 protocols. We ask that you keep your mask on while you're in here. If you're up at the podium and speaking, you can remove your mask. It's fine. We don't have them. We kind of have them, don't have them on up here, but we're spread out. I would also mention that our Assistant City Manager, Felicia Donnelly, is calling in tonight because we did want her to participate. Doesn't require a vote of the council because she's not a voting member of council. And with that, the next two items on the agenda is the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask. Please rise.
Father in heaven, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is in the best interest of the city of Oldsmar. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please be seated. All right, next item on the agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. You have 5 minutes when we call on you to speak. And we have no public hearings tonight. So we ask that you give your name and address. Make sure you include the city. And I'm going to start on this side of the room. I'm just kidding. You're ambitious today.
I am. I came ready.
Would you like to come up to the open forum?
I would.
Would you please go first?
Thank you. I would be honored. My name is Pam Settle. I'm at 439 Lakeview Drive. I am here as a concerned citizen tonight, speaking about agenda item number 9. As a parent and as a resident of Oldsmar, I've had concerns about the BMX track for a long time. So when I saw the agenda item for tonight of $3 million to repair the existing track, my first response was, can we wait? I would like to ask the council to suspend voting on that item tonight and step back and allow the Leisure Services Advisory Board and the Communications Department to do some listening sessions with the citizens to find out if fixing the BMX track is even something that the citizens would like. It's a huge amount of money. I know it has a history, but things change. Times change, priorities change, budgets change, and I think there's a lot more things that would apply to more of a cross-section of the community in terms of recreation, and maybe it's a time to stop and look at whether or not we even need to keep that and to find out what the citizens really want before investing another $3 million into that. And so I just would respectfully ask the council to maybe delay the vote and the contract and then make a plan to do some listening with the citizens to find out what their intentions are, what they would like to see happen with that property, with the track, and what other things can we provide for our families. We are in need of a community center. We're in need of a lot of other recreation services that serve a cross-section of families. Tourism, sports tourism is nice, and it's great when a city like Clearwater can do that when they already have the Long Center. So they're providing all of the things that their citizens need and then doing tourism. I don't know that we're providing everything that this community needs for recreation, and so a BMX track might be a luxury we don't need to work towards any longer. So something I would like to just propose that we ask the people of Oldsmar more of what they would like to see with that before spending $3 million to fix it. It's been sitting there for 2 years, empty, not working, and has anybody really missed it? And I think that's a reasonable question to ask at this particular point in the process. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else on this side of the room? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Standing up already.
Can I take this off?
Well, you're at the podium, yeah. That's great.
I'm Andre LaCroix, 504 Cypress View Drive. I'm here with the BMX track like hoping you guys support the vote. It's impacted my life like so much. Like I've been riding since I was 3 here in Oldsmar, and there's a bunch of local pros here who've been waiting for it to open back up, and it's affected me definitely a ton with like the Olympic run to go into 2021, and I'm really hoping that we can have it because there's a great amount of pros here and like locally, and not only in Pinellas County, Orlando, like everywhere, who really miss this track and would definitely like it for an Olympic cycle going into 2024. And not only that, you can tell how many riders, like I do coaching as well, like in Oldsmar and in Tampa, and you can tell how many riders have kind of like faded out because like little ones, because they don't have the Oldsmar track anymore, and it's far for them to go to Lutz or Sarasota or anywhere else. And like that Oldsmar is like just that central point that was perfect for them to go. So I know there's a ton of kids and like pros, everything that miss this so much. And yeah, like I just really hope you guys vote it through. There's such a big following in BMX here in Florida. This is like the hot spot for in the United States and pretty much in the world for BMX. So I mean, like the track is really, really missed, and I do think that it would be really beneficial for the city to vote it through.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else on this side of the room? I'll have you go next.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Tyler Klumper. I'm at 1133 East Rose Street in Tarpon Springs. I'm also here to support the vote for the BMX track and moving forward, hopefully getting it reopened. I myself personally moved. I live about 15 minutes away from the track from South Africa, kind of chasing my Olympic dreams and goals of competing in the Olympics for my country. And a big part of the reason was a track of that nature of the Oldsmar track being as close as it was, and also with, like Andre was saying, with the scene that BMX has in Florida right now, it's really the spot that a bunch of pros are actually moving over. You know, they're uprooting themselves and moving over here. Myself, I've got friends from Australia, a lot of South American friends. You know, they've all moved into this area or around this area just for that luxury of what we have here in Florida right now, and you know, particularly the Oldsmar track. So I just hope that you guys vote for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're up.
Hello, my name is Jackson Settle, and I live in 349 Lakeview Drive. 439 Lakeview Drive, sorry. My name is Jackson Settle, and I'm a teen representative on the Leisure Services Board, or Advisory Board. At the last meeting, I submitted a list of ideas that would benefit other older kids and teenagers who live here in Oldsmar. One of the items I have on my wish list is a teen center, which is very important, and I know that some other people find that important also. So currently, middle and high school students leave Oldsmar to attend school, and when they come back home, there's nowhere for them to gather for fitness or social activities. So when it comes to priorities and spending available tax money, millions of dollars in general, in my opinion, I believe we need to ask the families who live here right in Oldsmar, who have teenagers, what would they like? Would they like to see everyone on the board keeping the BMX track, or maybe some other places that might be helpful for the current people who are living here right now? So I'm asking you, please delay the vote on the repair contract and allow enough time for families and teens to provide input and actually have a final decision, and allow enough time. That would be significant part of the decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room? Go ahead.
My name is Spencer Cole. I live in 3004 Bolt Drive, Palm Harbor, Florida. And this Oldsmar track here has been everything to me since I moved here. I basically left everything in Ohio. Right after 8th grade, my family decided to move here to Florida, and we chose this area specifically because of the beautiful track that was here in Oldsmar, Florida. And ever since then, myself, I was 14 years old, and all I've ever wanted to be is an Olympic athlete in this sport, in this discipline. And we have, I can't even explain how many pros in this area that missed this track. And the level of the facility compared to other places in Florida is unlike any other. And I know we all miss it dearly. The Gator Nationals is probably the coolest thing that can happen to the city. At my school, I go to Eastlake High School, and I just graduated from there this past year. It's so cool because our sport is just growing by the year, every single year. And after the Gator Nationals comes through, it's crazy how many students, and not even in my grade that don't even know me, come up to me like, wow, I want to try this sport. And then we have the BMX Race League that just grows by the numbers every single year. And it was just getting so much bigger before the repair. And I think if we just bring it back and we get the Gator Nationals back, but that's even further away. But I think it'd be just really great for us to have that track back and continue my Olympic dreams. And just like my other friends over there, my competitors, my friends, my family, we miss it and we miss each other. And it was just the best place for us to get together. And it really changed my life. So I hope we get back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else over here who speaks in opposition of the track? All right, I'm going to come back to you, but I'm going to also allow people to speak on other subjects, because if you might recall, the rules that we've set for the rules of the day is that we have 30 minutes of citizens' open forum, and when it runs out, we go on and we will come back to it at the end of the meeting, but of course at that point we will have voted, right? But I do want to allow any other subject that is on the agenda to get addressed. Is there any other subject on the agenda that someone would like to address? Wow, all right, well then let's just roll right on. Next speaker, please. Go ahead.
How's it going?
Good, how you doing?
My name is Stacy Cole. I live at 3004 Bolt Drive in Palm Harbor. We keep on talking about the track, but we got to look a little deeper. All the businesses around here, when we do the Gator National, the money that it brings in it's crazy. So that's one thing we need to focus on also, besides the riders, is besides having a state race, that brings in probably at least $100,000 for the whole community. And when the USA BMX comes in and does their Gator National, that I can imagine that could be almost up to $1 million. So I know everybody's talking about the track as in like the riders, but we got to look at the businesses around it. And I just wanted to throw that out there because nobody's even thinking about that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Next. We got anyone else?
My name's Cameron Mason, and I can't even remember. Sorry, I actually just moved here from North Carolina, from another big facility out there,
Rock Hill.
another Olympic, Rock Hill,
Where, what city do you live in?
Tarpon
Now?
Springs.
Tarpon Springs,
Yeah.
all right. We'll get the rest of your information later.
Okay.
We'll let you off the
Sorry.
hook this time.
And just coming from that track out there, this track is a really big track that people like to come train at from around the world. Every time we had a national here before, when the track was having nationals and everything, it brought in international riders all the time. And even in Rock Hill, that they have a decent scene, but not as good as Oldsmar did. And it always had more riders than Rock Hill. And Rock Hill has been, up for 6 or 7 years now? And yeah, I just like to say that coming from Rock Hill and around here, there's a lot more pros in this area that want to promote this to everybody around here and make money for the city. So, yep, that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have one more. Were you saving yourself to the end? Is that?
I always like to go last. Good evening. Ken LaCroix, 504 Cypress Street Drive, 20-year resident, parent of a BMX rider that's been riding since 3. I've invested a lot of time and effort into this. I believe you've all received my emails, and I'm sure this past couple weeks you've received quite a few from all over the world, from different riders. The support we have in the BMX community is pretty good and overwhelming for the track. We need to open the track back up. It's been 2 years. There's an opportunity for you guys to gain your money back through a lawsuit. I know there's something pending. So we have an option. Money can be gained back possibly. Maybe not all of it, but I'm sure you guys can do something when you show the courts what it costs you guys to rebuild this track. The community itself is losing a lot of money, just like Stacy told you guys, that they're losing tax dollars. The bed tax and hotels, restaurants have all lost money due to this because we were basically the biggest event in Oldsmar. We have an opportunity to get a Supercross race. We have plenty of opportunities to get bigger sponsors to do local state of Florida races, a Supercross series with Sarasota. There's a lot of opportunity to have more races to gain more money for the city. I just want you guys to please consider it and vote for it. I'll bring it up with my leisure committee constituents and in our next meeting too. You know, hopefully they agree with it. I understand we had a couple opposed to it, but we've got a lot of time and effort invested into it, and I understand that they want to have others talk about it, but I think we've talked about it for 2 years, and it's time to do something. We're all losing money, and we're losing tax dollars, so I appreciate it if you guys would vote to approve it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? With that, the chair will close the citizens open forum.
One more.
Whoop, oh,
I thought you were still on that side.
no, that's all right. Come right up.
Okay, thank you. Hello, I'm Angie Armstrong. I live at 3656 Meriden Avenue. I'm here to address the BMX track as well. Now, I don't have a solid opinion like, oh, it has to be closed. But what I am asking is that you postpone your vote. I do understand the revenue and the benefits of the track. It helps with our community, it helps with the people, it helps with our businesses. Obviously, the impact does have a ripple effect, and I agree with that. But I feel like this is something that has been brought up where a lot of the residents don't understand what's going on. We were told that there was a lawsuit pending, that somebody else maybe was at fault, so why isn't that person paying for the repairs? Why is it that we're now potentially voting on $3 million of our money to pay for a mistake that was made by somebody else? So I'm just asking that you maybe research this a little bit more with the residents to find out, you know, would we like our parks repaired? Would we like more benches, more pavilions? Like, what is it that your residents want? As opposed to, let's look at the numbers and what's gonna bring us revenue. And I understand it has been sitting there for an amount of time, and we want to get something done with it because obviously there's property taxes, things, there's no revenue. So it's us ultimately costing us more money than it is making us. But I do think this is something that maybe is slightly rushed, and we shouldn't instantly make a decision today on spending almost $3 million on fixing a wall that was somebody else's mistake in the first place. That's my opinion.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, the chair will close the citizens open forum. Next item on the agenda is the community minute, which will be announced by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
Yes, so we have the Candace Forum on January 12th. So you know we got Georgia tonight, but hey, next week is Candace Forum for Oldsmar, and there are 2 people running for council seat. One, it'll be a Zoom meeting in partnership with Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce, and it'll be hosted by the League of Women Voters. They'll be doing the moderating. So visit myoldsmar.com for online meeting information. And then we have tree recycling. So if you have a live tree and you want to do something besides just throw it out, we recycle it. We make it into mulch. Now that opportunity ends on January 15th. So take your tree, make sure there's nothing on it, to Ari Olds Park. So get the decorations off first, plus you probably want to keep your decorations, and then take the tree over to Ari Olds Park, and then we'll mulch it up. And our climate resiliency plan. So there's an open house. It's a public information meeting on Thursday, January 21st from 5 to 7, and Saturday, January 23rd from 10 to noon at Oldsmar Council Chamber. So that's right here. And there'll be more details about that. And of course, if you have any questions about the resiliency plan, there'll be a lot of efforts going out there for information. But that's what we're doing, our efforts to make the city more sustainable for who knows what may be coming up. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval of additional new agenda items. Items 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, and 17. You see what happens when we miss a meeting, right? You get all these, and we get them all. Does anybody wish to pull anything for discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, awards and recognition. Presentation and proclamation of National Mentoring Month, and Councilmember Knapp will be presenting that.
Should I go down still?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, as the mayor said, I'm getting the honor to present the first proclamation of 2021. This is for National Mentoring Month. Whereas the goals of National Mentoring Month are to raise awareness of the value of mentoring, recruit individuals to mentor, and encourage organizations to engage and integrate quality mentoring into their efforts. And whereas a mentor is a caring person who is consistently present and who devotes time to a young person to help them discover their personal strengths and achieve full potential through a structured, trusting relationship. And whereas quality mentoring encourages positive choices, promotes self-esteem, supports academic achievement, and introduces young people to new ideas. And whereas mentoring programs have also been effective in combating school violence and discipline problems, substance abuse, incarcerations, and truancy. And whereas research shows that youth who participate in a mentoring relationship are more likely to finish high school and continue on to college. And whereas National Mentoring Month gives us the opportunity to appreciate the staff and volunteers who dedicate their time to quality mentoring programs and celebrate the young people who have found their inner strength with the help of a mentor. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Knapp, on behalf of Eric Seidel, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2021 as National Mentoring Month in the City of Oldsmar, and urge all to observe this month by taking time to recognize and acknowledge the impact of mentors in Pinellas County who give so unselfishly of their time and talents so students can be successful. Dated this 5th day of January, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Important to note, part of the reason why that was important for us to read it, the recipient of the organization that was going to come couldn't make it tonight, but we wanted to acknowledge those folks who volunteer to be mentors. I know our city manager, and I believe our assistant city manager, and I know we have others in the city who volunteer here locally as mentors, and so we just want to make a point of recognizing their effort and the impact they make. So let's give them another round of applause. Next item is the Community Redevelopment Agency. Before I go into that, I think based on the people we have here, and I don't see anybody here that I expect is for those items, I'm going to entertain a motion to suspend the rules of the day for the purpose of going to item number 9 on the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is not, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, this time the chair will entertain a motion to go to item number 9.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I, and a second? Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we're on item number 9.
Thank you. Item 9 is the award the design-build agreement for the 2020-013 RFP for BMX retaining wall replacement, design, build, and present to J. Kokalakis Contracting Incorporated for an amount not to exceed the guaranteed maximum price of $2,997,000. Sorry, $2,997,825. As council knows, in 2015, the city's existing BMX track was reconstructed using a combination of earthen embankments and mechanically stabilized earth retaining walls. As early as September 2015, the city noted the retaining walls were starting to exhibit some distress, which prompted several evaluations by consulting firms and the designer of the wall systems. In April 2019, the city manager closed the facility due to life safety concerns. In May 2019, City Council approved the securing of Ardura Group, Incorporated, formerly known as King Engineering, to evaluate the mechanically stabilized walls. The result of that analysis concluded that the structure required significant remediation or replacement. The recommendation of the consultant was that it was most cost-effective to replace the structure entirely. To ensure consistency and efficiency in the design and construction processes, it was determined that the best course of action was to issue a design-build contract, which we did in October of 2019. The city again procured Ardura Group to prepare a design criteria package, which is a statutory requirement for design-build procurement. The design criteria package described the specific requirements for the design, permitting, and construction of the project. In July 2020, the City Council authorized the city manager to solicit design-build services to reconstruct the BMX track retaining wall structure. The professional services procured through this RFP were in accordance with Florida statutes and related requirements for design-build procurement. One proposal was received from J. Kokolakis Contracting, Inc. for the guaranteed maximum price that I previously mentioned at $2,997,825. The proposal was deemed responsive, and the agreement was subsequently negotiated by the city manager. Funding for this project is available in the Capital Improvement Fund, and staff recommends approval.
Very good. All right, here's where we're going to do this. The chair will entertain a motion to approve for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Councilmember Gannon.
I kind of thought you might make some prefatory remarks.
I'm happy to.
I think it might obviate some of the repetitive discussion among us.
Very good, very good. You know, some of the questions that were raised tonight are good questions. I will tell you that when this was originally discussed, I was not really in favor of it because of the amount of the investment. I will tell you that my opinion on that has changed. And with all due respect to those who asked for more input from the community, I would respectfully disagree in the sense that we've been talking about this on the agenda multiple times. And while you may not experience it, I can tell you as mayor, I experience a lot of feedback from citizens about it. It is a brutal reminder when you drive down Tampa Road. It does not escape people, and I get asked about it a lot. The input up until really the last couple of days has literally been 100% mayor. We've got to get this fixed. It's become part of our community. And I don't think I don't think we should take that away. You know, to me, it's not a matter of we're making a decision on building something new. We're talking about whether we're going to not reinvest and therefore take it away from a lot of kids who are here. You've heard from some. We've gotten emails from a bunch of folks. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think that for other needs that we have in the community, we look for ways to go fill those needs. So we knew when we had some of the work done in terms of what it would take to repair it, our engineers that we hired made it very clear it's going to cost anywhere from 2 to 5 times what it originally cost. Why is that? Because I've been asked that question a few times. There's a couple of reasons. One's the obvious. It has to be torn down to be built up properly. This is not a professional opinion. This part is my opinion. I would suggest that maybe we should not have gone with the low bidder when we built this. Perhaps that's the reason it was the price it was, and perhaps that's the reason we have the problems that we do. I will tell you 100%, that I have a high level of confidence in this contractor. He has an outstanding reputation, has done amazing work throughout Tampa Bay and all around. So I don't expect for 1 minute that we would have any similar problems moving forward. There's also some other issues that are probably not commonly known. One of them being, when we built this, it was $2.3 million to build it. The city put in $1 million, and then the state, through one of their funds, put in $1.3 million. Now, as part of that, we have obligations when you take that money. And I've spent time talking to our member of the House, well, our member of the House at the time up in Tallahassee, as well as our senator up in Tallahassee. And there is legitimately probably some question as to whether or not we owe that $1.3 million if we choose not to rebuild it. So let's think about that. It starts to change the dynamics a little. And I think it might raise into question some other additional funding that we have people working hard for us to bring some Tallahassee dollars back here. You know, whether that's fair or not, it's reality. And I you know, while it's a big investment, it's not an investment that we don't make and take into account a multitude of things. One being, would we be on the hook to pay back the $1.3 million? That's a legitimate question, one that we really would rather not explore, right? The next item on that to me is I look at it as what is the highest and best use, all right? And that's where you get into, you know, if that was a blank canvas over there, it would be very different. Then it would be a different scenario. It's not, though. You can't just say, well, this group is gonna get penalized and this group is we're gonna take it away so that others can put dibs on it. I don't think that's the way to do things. I would also tell you that there's a matter of return on investment. I will tell you there's a return on investment, and when I say that, I want to make it clear that doesn't mean necessarily tax revenue coming into the city's coffer, right? And I think that sometimes is misunderstood. It is economic development for the community to sustain jobs, and especially in the hospitality area. And I could tell you this, I've met with our hotel owners this year, probably had more meetings with all hospitality because of COVID. And one of the things that two of the hotels had said to me, they're like, well, you know, first we lost Gator National. That basically means what would be one of our good months out of the year is gone. Now, I want you to think about what that means when you say something like that. Granted, it's a weak event, but it's like an investment that ensures out of the 12 months, this month's gonna be a good month for some of our restaurants and hotels, better than normal. How about that? So it's a micro point, but it's significant. And if you look at the hard numbers that we are responsible as part of the money we receive, we have to report to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity as a follow-up. And our last event there, most don't probably realize it, weekend attendance was over 12,000 people, right? Total room nights were over 8,300. And the spending was estimated to be somewhere around 2.5 million. Night revenue was $1 million. So the economic impact is like 3.4 million in total. For one event, yeah, correct, right. So if you look at it from a return on investment, which I look at everything as return on investment, I'm just telling you, it's the way I approach it. When you look at that, that's like an 11% return on 1 year. I mean, that's pretty solid. You know, that's a pretty responsible use of the taxpayers' money. I mean, it may not correlate dollar per dollar, but the ripple effect, there is a ripple effect that's real. It might be our biggest impact item that we do here in the city. When I was looking through the numbers, and I was surprised at how big it is. So I think it's an investment that is worthy. I believe that I'm pleased to know, and it makes a difference, that we have some penny for Pinellas money that has not been spent, that can be repurposed. So therefore, it's, one can argue is that the taxpayers' dollars, the sales tax revenue, which just generates more sales tax. If you want to get into the microeconomics of it, it doesn't come from, it's not necessarily coming from ad valorem taxes, your property taxes. And so therefore, we don't have to take on any debt to repair it. And that's material. That's pretty significant. And so there you have it. I think that, I think at the end of the day, it's one of those things that it's a gut punch to find out what it's going to cost to fix. And listen, we're still going through litigation. We're not walking away from that. But we do want to open it back up because we're going to fix it. Let's say we lost. We would still fix it, right? I mean, that's what I think is a smart thing to do. And it brought 39 states in the one race, the last race, we had 39 states represented and 21 countries. That's where all that money came from. Brought it from their community to our community, spent it here, and got people jobs. And our local ridership and our local program, forget Gator National for a moment. Ever since the city really kind of, I think, recommitted to it, put some of our own folks, like really focused on it, our ridership had gone up consistently of local riders. Now, I will tell you, we have some youth sports here that are concerning.
Yeah.
That are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
This one's not, okay? This is not a place to take away from. Not that I want to take away from any of them, but this one's growing. And it is Olympic sport, and it's something that I think is a sense of pride. So that's my opinion. And so if there's more, we'll go down the council.
Thank you, Mayor. As anticipated, your comments have obviated the need for many of mine, which I'm sure you'll all be grateful for, especially your summation of the economic impact. That was extremely important to me. There's been at least 6 times that I've counted that BMX and the related engineering projects, the research that we've done has been on an agenda, a noticed public agenda. That doesn't count the number of times that you have requested from the city manager, much to his chagrin, updates on the status of all of those items in the interim. I think that the timeline for this has been one of the longest timelines next to Douglas Road that I can think of, which is sad. That's actually really sad. We had 60 local riders when we closed the track. You mentioned hearing about it as mayor. I gave a couple of talks to Boy Scouts in the area. And, I was so optimistic that at the end of my talk, they would have all these questions about being in local government and serving as a council person. Every single one of those kids had one concern. When is the BMX track going to open? Why is the BMX track closed? When can you open it? Why can't you open it now? Can you open part of it? Can we try it somewhere else? Can we ride here? It was astounding. I was dumbfounded by these 8-year-olds asking me my least anticipated question because I hadn't even brought it up. The only reason they knew about Oldsmar, because some of these were not local groups, the only reason they knew about Oldsmar was because of the track. Since December 19th, just in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten 25 emails at last count from literally around the world. Riders of Olympic caliber, international caliber, asking us to please consider funding this. You know, I understand that sometimes information isn't as easy to find as it is for us being on council. I recognize that sometimes as a citizen, it's difficult to become thoroughly informed, but I do believe that everybody up on this council is thoroughly informed and certainly entitled to their opinion should it differ from mine. But there are certain things that I didn't hear mentioned that I will mention for the sake of full disclosure. In accepting that money that you mentioned from the Florida legislature, there are also, in addition to, you know, keeping the money, there are also restrictions on what we're allowed to put on that land because it was gifted to us by SwiftMud many, many moon ago. That's the Southwest Florida Water Management District. And they haven't been so nice about our recent suggestions to change what we do there. There are consequences of not reconstructing it, of course, the cost of actually bulldozing it and building something else. I also think that it's been a little bit misrepresented, and I agree with you, Mayor. I don't like the pitting of different sports or opportunities for other types of recreation against each other, because I don't think that's correct. If you look at item 11 on the agenda tonight, request council approval of a revision to the list of potential projects from the fourth penny for Pinellas. On there, we've got staff suggesting us perhaps consider a black box theater. I mean, that would be so cool. And these things aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
Our city is doing, and staff, I cannot say enough. Our staff does such an incredible job of keeping us fiscally sound, constantly looking for new ways to recreate, to earn money, to provide more services with less. And we always do that. We always come through. That speaks volumes to the fact that we have this money available to shift, to reallocate, and that we don't need to take on debt to do this. There's a lot of reasons that you mentioned that are important to me. Obviously, the financial impact, the local league is a huge deal to me. The potential return from litigation, true. But when it comes down to it, the question was, you know, even if we don't get anything back from the litigation, would we rebuild it? And my answer is yes. I am not necessarily opposed to tabling this to get more input. I would think about that kind of a motion. I will say, however, that I have input from the public from the past 3 years.
Right.
And it has impacted my vote, just as it has yours, from a maybe to a yes. Should we table this discussion, my vote is not likely to change. I am very proud of the hard work that city staff has done to make sure that this time it is done absolutely correctly. We have hired very sophisticated engineers, very sophisticated companies that have done core drilling into the thing to make sure that this time it's done right. We have been promised races back. USA BMX has said Gator Nationals will come back, I believe, at least twice. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. The economic impact from that instantaneously over 2 years, and I know it's going to take 2 years to rebuild it, is evident to me in a simple math problem. I don't think we need to think about recreation in Oldsmar as if we do this, we can't do that. I think their city is always looking for new ideas and new things to do, and I think it would be a mistake not to move forward with repairing the BMX track.
Thank you, Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, seeing that number was rather a gut punch when we got it, and knowing that it was the only number we got. So that gave me some pause. As when the engineering report was originally received, I wasn't on council yet at the time, so I'd asked the city manager for that and had a chance to review it with my dad, who's a civil engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. Reading through that made me realize really, truly how bad it was, and from a safety perspective. Then followed up with the city manager to ask, you know, are we still looking at it now? Because from my dad's perspective is, well, settling can happen, but usually over time it slows down or stops. it does seem to have continued to get worse. There's more leaching out of the wall. So seeing that made it, without question, yes, it has to be torn down. From my background, I kind of felt, well, what other alternatives were there? I know the city manager had asked for some, but any of those alternatives turned out to be more expensive than something very similar, a one-for-one, as to what currently exists. So in terms of the topic of tabling or postponing a vote, that would be where I would more so consider that, is just from the financial perspective of it, and is there a steel structure that could work better than an earthen retaining wall? That aside, I mean, I think it's a great benefit to the community. My nephew for many years raced on the track. He took a break for a while, but now that he's gotten interested again with a new group of friends, and the track's not there anymore. So they've been going to other ones in the area. Beyond that, I mean, I think everything else kind of has been echoed already from the two that have already spoken. And I don't see another path forward, especially not wanting to take that risk of what the state might come back at us with relative to that $1.3 million grant. So that kind of is what counterbalances where my position was on this whole thing. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. You've covered basically everything I wanted to talk about, and Katie, you mentioned a couple good points too, but one of the things I want to mention is, I remember when the first track was built, I was riding my bike through Sheffield Park 3-4 times a week, and I'd go up and watch it be built. I never even dreamed that this would have happened to our city, that the track would be defective, because I truly watched that structure be built. And I'm really disappointed that that happened to us. I love the BMX. Even though Gabby came in first and I came in last, I still love it. I mean, I came in way last.
I even beat you.
Yeah, you did. You passed me.
I beat both of you.
Yeah, you did.
Anyways, I'm looking for the next race, on the next track. I support the BMX very much. I play hockey at the new rink, and I'm one of the older gentlemen there, unfortunately, but it's okay. The younger guys, every week, when is that going to be open? When are they going to start working on that? It's a staple of our city. This track brings revenue, and it brings riders that love our city. One last thing I want to say, Mayor, because you didn't mention it, indicator. It's kind of ironic that we were going through this pandemic of COVID and our track has been closed. So it gave us time as a city, and as Katie mentioned, the city staff, to really come up with solutions to ensure that this track is going to be built correctly this time. And I think that the whole scenario of the COVID pandemic and us working together and trying to get through 2020, which is now gone, I think it's a new year. I think it's time that we move forward and get that track done, and I totally support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Norris.
Well, it's easy to go last because a lot of the points have already been made. When I first saw the price tag, I gut punch. I was against. I couldn't believe it, that how much more it was. Not how much more it was than what it cost to build it, but just how much it was and the percentage of the budget. But the things that really sway me are, we do have litigation to get some of the money back. We might have to pay back $1 million to the state. The 3.4 million just for the one. So all of the things that I'm hearing and that I'm learning about the economic impact. Also, it's kind of nice. I mean, we have voted and wanted for a long time to be known as an ecotourism town. That has been a council priority for years, over a decade. And it really, if we're world known for something, if that's what we're world known for, and all these other contingencies that could happen, I do believe that I've changed my mind, just like some of you, I've changed my mind. But I don't think that we should discount what Pam and Jackson have said, because, not that we're discounting it, but I do believe that they have a point, that it's a big ticket, you know? It's almost $3 million. And even though it might have been on the agenda 6 times, has that $2.9 million price tag been on the agenda for 6 times? I don't think so, you know? So giving the citizens the opportunity for some input, I think that maybe we need to change the way that we, you know, put these things forward. Maybe we should have some community involvement. Maybe we should have some, you know, more going forward, because it is a big ticket. But there is, like, I think it was Katie or somebody had said, Swift Mud put a condition on it that it has to be recreation. Okay, I don't know what falls under recreation, if a community center, a teen center, if that would fall under recreation, if that would. Those are all things that, you know, would have to be looked into. But I think overall, with everything that's been said, I am in favor of moving forward, but I'm also in favor of giving more community input on anything that costs, I think, 17% of the budget, I think Al said. It's a big ticket. I think that we need to have more, I don't know, you're looking, that might be wrong.
That's not the right number. It's nowhere near.
No.
Okay, well, it's a lot of
It's
money.
still a big number.
It's a big number, right, but I do
Regardless.
believe that, you know, because not everybody reads what comes out on the agenda. Not everybody reads it, so maybe if we're gonna have something, to have it out on Tampa Road on the marquee sign, you know, a community discussion on this, or a community discussion, town hall on this. I think that that might be something that we would definitely wanna think about going forward.
All right. And you know, I'll say this. I don't disagree with that. I think that we do that in an organic kind of way, you know, versus a poll, honestly. I think that there is a certain expectation from most people. Hey, I elected you to make decisions that are good decisions. You make bad decisions, I won't elect you again.
Right, I agree with that. I completely agree with that, but I do think that something that costs this much money, that benefits not everybody in the city of Oldsmar other than the peripheral of the economic development and everything else, I do believe that that is something that is worthy of some kind of town hall.
Well, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. You know, and I still kind of go back to the whole concept of like, okay, so we're going to take it away from this group, you know, and to me, that's just like, okay, you know, in any event. All right, any other discussion, any other
Well,
comments?
and Katie made a good comment that the Black Box Theater is something that we are looking, that is, you know, listed in another agenda item here. That's a possibility for Penny for Pinellas, so that's a good point.
Yeah, we don't have to do this mutually exclusive thing.
This
where
isn't the
we
end
do
of the
this,
road.
Taking
Right.
away from that.
Yeah, no, listen, and that's not like a new item that just came from
Right.
staff. That's something we've been working on.
Oh, yeah, for months.
You know, so in any event.
Months.
All right, any point order, any more items relevant to this, any discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. Sensing you're ready to vote, I'm going to go with a roll call.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Design build agreement for 2020-013-RFP BMX retaining wall replacement design build to J. Kakalakis Contracting Inc. for an amount not to exceed the guaranteed maximum price of $2.997825 is awarded with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. All right, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to return to the rules of the day.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
motion, and I have a second. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the Community Redevelopment Agency. Item number 2. We just go from issue to issue tonight.
I need a break.
All right, item number 2, consider termination of the development negotiations with Simone and Associates LLC for the development of the hotel in the Oldsmar Town Center. Thank you. All right. I'll entertain a motion, and, well, I don't know. Al, do you want to add anything to it?
Only that the essence of it is pretty straightforward. We're asking council to consider the termination of our negotiations with the group that we started with, Simone and Associates, because we couldn't reach an agreement.
Very good. All right. Before discussion, or do you want to have?
I make a motion?
I have a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. Okay, discussion. Council member?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, Al, thank you for all your hard work on this. You and I have talked about it many, many times. I know I was for Simone Group, 100% behind them. Unfortunately, thank you, Al, again, for all your hard work, because you talked to me and convinced me why. And thank you, Tom, for your hard work, but glad this is, we can move forward, 2021, new year.
All right. Who made the second? Discussion?
I think I had made my position known previously in another meeting about this negotiation.
If this is, I told you so.
No.
It's Joe's fault.
No, it's not.
Because I've had enough of that from our city manager.
No, it's not. I just, observation of what's been going on over the last year plus now. It's been seeming to be nothing but headaches, and I fear that if we had continued on, or if we were to continue on, it would turn into nothing but heartache. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
Very good. More discussion. Gannon?
Thank you, Mayor. That was artfully worded. I also previously made my position known. However, I will say a big thank you to Felicia Donnelly, Tom Trask, and Al Braithwaite for their very hard and diligent efforts on negotiating this, working this all the way down to the dirty details and written documents, and working very hard through multiple meetings with this development group. And I will also say that there was a time when we all were extremely excited to receive this proposal from this particular group. And although things did not necessarily turn out as any of us had expected, I do thank them for their submission, for their investment, and for their time and interest in developing this particular parcel. But as I had mentioned previously, I think it is time to move on, and I am excited to do so because we already have lots of additional interest to discuss.
Very good. Councilmember Norris.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was also one that was in favor. I think it's too bad that we're not going to have our local company doing it, but I am glad that we gave them another opportunity at the last time that we did discuss this, and we voted it. They knew where they stood, they knew what they had to do, and they have nobody to blame but themselves. And again, to echo what y'all have said, all of the negotiations that Al, Felicia, and Tom have tried in order to get them to move forward, and then it comes down to having to go to the next developer. So, yeah, it's too bad, but we have to move on.
Very good. The only comment that I would add is that I'm extremely disappointed that we're making this decision. I believe very strongly that we try to go local, all things being equal. We made a and it was actually a better economic deal on the surface, frankly. But you reach a point in negotiations where you suddenly realize that you're not going in the right direction, and I would argue that, having been part of many negotiations in the past, you know, when you start holding your partner accountable to an error in a draft agreement on something that you have publicly presented as what you're willing to do multiple times, you're not going to be a good partner for us. And I respect the recommendation that came from our negotiation team. And I do appreciate the extra effort that they put into trying to make that work. So with that, I sense that any other discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. We move on. Item number 3, consider options for the development of the parcel of land located immediately east of City Hall, the Oldsmar Town Center. I have a kind of a recommendation on this and a reminder, which I think probably would require an additional vote, just to reaffirm maybe. If you'll recall, when we did our ranking last year, what we had said at the ranking was that if we could not reach an agreement as a city with the first-ranked provider, developer, that the second-ranked developer would be given the opportunity. And we have since confirmed that Commonwealth, who was the second ranked, is definitely interested in pursuing building that same parcel of land and putting a boutique hotel with a rooftop bar, all the things we wanted. I'm sure that as the negotiations get deeper with the city, that, you know, there might be some changes that are relevant, but essentially, I would recommend that as it relates to that parcel, we go to number 2. We've gone through that process. So, any comments on that? Janet?
Okay, you go first, you should.
Good.
What about number 3, is Prime Hospitality? They came up with that site plan of the whole property, which was pretty interesting. I think, my feeling is, believe me, I loved Commonwealth Hotel's site plan, it was gorgeous. But number 3 had a couple ideas too, with the hotel plus the apartments or condos with the shops, the lower shops, they had the whole entire thing. Can we?
And so what I would say is, and I probably should have finished the rest of that, so
Okay,
that
thank
if we do in fact follow through on what we said we were going to do back then and go to number 2, right? Then that would leave the remainder of all the property. And as we know, we received a letter of interest from Woodfield Group, who has made some pretty interesting proposals that are similar to what concept plan this council has come up with. And Prime Development Group has also reaffirmed their interest to pick up the property. I had to come and develop the property. I had a conversation with their CEO the other day. I think he might have reached out to a few people. And I said to him that I think there's a strong possibility that the hotel piece might be off the equation. Is that something you're still interested in if that's the case? And he had said to me, he had indicated that they would be. So, you know, it becomes a scenario like this potentially. The hotel, we moved to number 2. The hotel is off the block for now, assuming we can come to an agreement. And then we have 2 different groups who are making proposals on the remainder of the property, understanding that we have a concept plan that we've designed that looks like I said to the Prime guy, he said, I wish I would have known better what you were interested in. And I said, well, there was a council concept plan. I mean, did you not see it, you know? And because his plan was really quite different from what the council had come up with. In any event, it might create a situation where we have kind of one in hand, much closer, and that is what we have talked about, what we'd like to see there, and that we then have 2 potentially competing. And my thought would be is that we then, if we go in that direction, what we would do is we would, since Commonwealth has already gone through the process, I don't know that, and they could certainly present if they wanted to make some changes. But I would propose that we have a workshop or potentially even a presentation from the 2 groups at a council meeting where we then could rank them, the remainders. Before, very similar to the same process we went through before, quite honestly, because it would mitigate our staff getting into lengthy, you know, detailed discussions on something we may not want. That's the problem with not doing it that way.
I just have a quick question. Commonwealth was assuming that we were going to build the parking garage. So if we go with, you know, if we were going to talk to Woodfield and we're going to talk to Commonwealth and Prime, where does, it seems like it's a lot of moving parts. Who is going to be responsible for the parking garage? So I think that having a work session or having something would be a good idea, because I think there's a lot of moving parts at this point, because it's not 100% that we're going to build a parking garage and then everybody's going to come, you know, or is, I'm confused about that. I'm confused about the parking garage. How's that going to work?
I think the parking garage part of this equation is what ultimately has to get worked out as to, as it relates to the other parties involved, what is our best option on parking garage? And so part of my reason for wanting to kind of situate things now is so that discussion can take place at the same time discussion with Commonwealth takes place, right? Because while we don't have anything back formally from the city manager yet, any additional information back from the city manager as it relates to the discussion with Woodfield. But we do know that there is appetite there to take on a much larger role of the parking garage, which was not what we originally envisioned. It's a much more attractive scenario. So in any event, I don't, and at the same time, Woodfield's not interested in a hotel. They want one there, but they don't really do hotels. So.
But Woodfield's interested in the parking garage?
Yeah, they need it as a wraparound for the,
yes.
for the living
So
units.
it sounds like it would be a good combination, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Right, because my biggest concern is taxpayer dollars paying for a parking garage.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern of
Right.
this whole thing, is where can we get the most help? Who's gonna give us the most help on this parking garage?
Yeah, and there's a, look, I guess the question is, as we're talking about next steps, I think that's a way to get those questions answered. Do we go to number two? Maybe they say, listen, we're not interested if you guys physically aren't building the parking garage. I don't think that's going to be the case. That wouldn't make any sense, quite honestly. Katie?
So here's my anomalous opinion, apparently. I think that for all practical purposes, the ranking has sort of been abandoned. Woodfield was never ranked, and yet they're now in front of Prime Group for developing the whole thing. Just give me a minute. Because they kind of came in after the fact. Maybe they, waited to submit anything to avoid the whole melee of being ranked, and then kind of came in, and now they're in negotiations for that whole parcel. I understand that there was a separation of the hotel and the rest of it, but my understanding was that Woodfield actually might be interested in building the hotel as well. So for me, I think to avoid this sort of like baby stepping it, I think the city manager and assistant city manager and our city attorney are completely competent to accept proposals from whomever, Commonwealth, Prime, Woodfield, even, God help us, DFMAR, to negotiate with whomever we've authorized them to negotiate with.
Oh my God.
That was wrong.
I'm sorry, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. I think we empower the city manager and the assistant city manager and our city attorney to negotiate with the parties that we've previously authorized them to negotiate with, and come to us with a deal that works best for us financially, feasibly, with a garage, without a garage. I think allowing them to negotiate will result in a quicker sort of end game for us. And it will allow them to immediately weed out proposals that no longer work. So if, for example, Commonwealth was bringing in Finfrock to build both the hotel and the garage, they might no longer have the economies of scale. If Finfrock can't be involved, since we're negotiating with Woodfield to build the garage, then maybe they don't bring in Finfrock, which makes the project economically infeasible for them to build the hotel in the first place. Well, then we have to come back here, and then we go to rank. It just doesn't make any sense. If Al can get on the phone this week and determine, okay, Commonwealth, are you in or are you out? Prime, you in, you out. Okay, everybody who's interested, we could get together again. I don't think it makes sense for us to rank anybody.
Okay, any other
again.
comments?
I actually think, so what, basically, to simplify it, what you're saying is let staff negotiate and then bring it to us, and then possibly for us to do some kind of ranking at that point. Is that what your suggestion is?
I'm essentially saying that I don't think we should be ranking anything until there's a deal in front of us. I think
We're
we
not.
let the city manager,
Okay.
assistant
All
city
right,
manager,
yeah.
just.
Vice Mayor.
One last comment. I like what you said, and what Katie said. Let the city manager, staff do their job, and let's have a workshop. Love it.
Yeah, my point is, it's just because we publicly said when we did the ranking, if number one was
Right.
not selected, we were going number two. And so if we're not going to do what we said, and change that, then we probably need to make that publicly known.
But aren't we already doing that?
No? In any event,
Question.
go ahead, Nat.
Thank you. So part of your proposal or what you're discussing is potentially just defaulting to Commonwealth for a hotel on the corner there, and then offering up Prime the ability to come up with something or morph their proposal for the remainder of the land, which Woodfield is also currently under negotiation with.
Yeah, I mean,
Correct? They would be interested in that and not having a shot at the hotel.
Yeah, I think, I'm saying essentially the same thing Katie's saying, we're just approaching it differently, right? What I'm saying is,
Negotiate, right?
well, we're getting what we want on the hotel. We know that. We've gone through it. We've looked at, oh, they want to put a nice restaurant in below. We look at like all the little micro stuff. We've done that already with that person, right? And so and plus what we've said is we were going to go to them. Now, regardless of the parking garage, I don't know that it mattered to them how the parking garage got built per se. They didn't want to pay for it, okay? That was their thing, and their deal was $126,000 a year for 100 spaces, if you remember the terms of the deal. And that was in perpetuity, unlike the other deal that was $200,000 for 10 years, and then they wanted a perpetual license. And so I think what ends up happening is, as you might be aware from some of the informal discussions, that it sounded like Woodgate had an appetite to say, pledge us those revenues, and we'll take on the responsibility of the parking garage, right? And so the economics.
Woodfield said that?
That was like one of the discussions that seemed to be very favorable with them. Right, and so the economics were different because we're talking about less money. But the point is, I think we could wait another week or another 2 weeks and have them go do that. But to me, it seems kind of, once again, it's going to be a question of, they're not going to be able to go back to Woodfield and say, hey, here's what we got to work with. Because council hasn't made the decision on that piece of property yet. So everything's still in the air. And as it relates to Prime Group, they're late. They're late coming back. They're gonna have to hustle. And who knows, maybe they come in with something that knocks off everyone's socks. And so be it. If nothing else, they know they're in a competitive situation on the balance of the property. But short of us going, if we're not gonna go and say, okay, we have a hotel person that we approve of, what they presented is what we want there. Now city manager, a good negotiations team, go and try to make that work, knowing that now they can have discussions outside of that with a Woodfield to be able to say, the deal's changed, it's less, but it's in perpetuity, so it might be a better deal for you anyhow. You see what I'm getting at?
I think that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. I guess what I'm trying to avoid is being deadlocked in negotiating with just one party when we have the opportunity to create some artificial competition to first one to sign.
We are.
Deal.
I would say
I
until
don't
we,
want the city manager to have to come back to us and say, okay, it didn't work out with number 2. Now we go to number 3. You know what I mean? Like, just go and figure it out. Let me know how it all comes out.
they're gonna still be in the same situation.
It's possible.
No, they absolutely will be, because they're not gonna be able to go back to Woodfield and say, here's a replacement.
Sure, but I think we're assuming that Commonwealth is still going to be proposing the same economics when it's in their complete and utter best interest to change that and lowball us. I don't think that the economic
Well, I would
situation
suggest to
would
you
be
that
the
that's
same.
not what they've indicated to us, but if it is, then they'd be gone. We're not, listen, we're not signing a deal, we're not approving a deal. I mean, what we're doing right now is giving direction.
Sure.
Saying, hey, we know that Woodfield has said that they have an appetite to take on more risks than we would have expected or would have hoped for. I mean, who knows? We haven't seen what the purchase price is. So, that might be where the devil is. But staff, you can go do this. Now try to go make that work. But otherwise, they have empty cards. They can't go back and do that because they can't say, well, it's, the council said, yeah, we've got a replacement. And so.
Right, and even if they did try to lowball, doesn't mean we're going to approve it.
Right. I mean, it's not a contract.
We're not gonna.
We're not voting on a contract.
Right.
We've lost another month, you know what I mean? We've lost another month waiting for everybody to get their ducks in a row, and then, and in the interim, Al could have made 2 phone calls and found that out if we just let him do his job.
We've already had the assistant city manager's already spoken with Commonwealth, right? That's how we know that they are still interested. They didn't respond right away. They took their time, did their diligence, and came back and said, yes, we would, and what was proposed to them was essentially what was on the original discussion of the agenda as to whether or not we wanted to go to the number 2, and they were big fans of that.
So your direction would be to move on to Commonwealth as the number 2 ranked and continue negotiating with Woodfield.
I would say that the motion would go like this, that we are moving to the number 2, which is Commonwealth, and asking staff to go work on that, and also that they would move forward, continuing working with Woodfield and Prime Group on the balance of the property to go, as you said, go do their job. But this way they can go in and say,
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
I think we are.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
So I got a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion.
More discussion?
When you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Good God. Item number 4 through 6, consent docket. Our city clerk.
Item number 4, accept resignation of Carmine Servideo from the Firefighters Pension Board. Item number 5, approve minutes of the December 1, 2020 City Council meeting. And item number 6, approve minutes of the December 10, 2020 special meeting.
Very good. Is there anybody who wishes to pull anything? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, City of Oldsmar, item 7, approve reappointment of Gina Rogers Price to the Leisure Services Advisory Board. She's not here to sing and dance. Yeah, we'll probably should appoint her.
Fantastic individual.
Oh, yeah, terrific. All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item, City Attorney.
Yes, I have Resolution 2021-01 for you tonight. We're going to read that resolution by title only. Resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, establishing a charter review committee, providing for the composition of the committee and certain procedural requirements, providing for the duties and responsibilities thereof, and providing for an effective date hereof. This resolution is brought to you as required by the charter under section 7.02. It requires every 5 years for the city council to appoint a committee of at least 5 members of city electors to be a committee to review the charter. Before you tonight is actually a resolution that provides that there should be 7 members of the committee. We think that, or at least I think, that there is a better chance of getting the work done faster and with a little bit more participation if we have more members of the committee. It being an odd number is always appropriate. This resolution would also provide that the council would select the chairman to start the first meeting, and then the chairman and vice chair would be actually picked at that meeting once it is actually started. It also would require that the committee would complete its work within 9 months after the first meeting, that the city clerk and the city attorney would make themselves available for help to the committee. If you approve this resolution, we'll be back to you with a process or some names for possible selection for this committee. I'm not sure how fast it's going to be. If you have recommendations, if this is approved, that would be helpful. So with that, I would provide you with that resolution 2021-01 for your consideration.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. I think the intent probably, you know, the best way to do this is similar to what we've done in the past. Maybe each council member submits somebody, and the city's the city appoints two. So we round it out, if that's kind of the consensus on that.
Yep.
All right. Any other discussion? Sensing
Should
your,
we have that by next meeting?
we want to have that submitted by next council meeting. Did you read my notes? I put my a
No,
note to
I
say
just want to
that.
make sure I know when to have a name for you.
I actually have that in big red letters, so, all right, very good. Thank you, Norris.
You're welcome.
All right, any other discussions? Attention, you ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Next item, city manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, item 10. Work order number 11 from 2018-007 RFQ with our Dura Group Incorporated for the BMX track retaining wall replacement design criteria engineering services during design and construction phase. October 2019, city authorized our Dura Group through work order number 6 to develop a design criteria package, including conceptual drawings and specifications for demolition and reconstruction of the city's BMX track Start Hill retaining walls. Ardura also assisted with development of the design build request for proposals and design build agreement and provided technical review of the proposal received. In performing the work proposed, Ardura will be serving as the city's design criteria professional during the design and construction of the project, assisting the city with verifying that the project is designed and constructed in accordance with the DCP criteria through completion of the design build contract. The detailed scope of work as described in the attached work order will run concurrent with the design builder's 330-day design build contract. The time and expense fee proposal for the professional services outlined in the work order is based on contract hourly rates with a not to exceed limit of $107,509. Funding is available in the Capital Improvement Fund, and staff recommends approval.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second. Discussion. Sensing you're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item 11.
Item 11 is a request for the council approval of a revision to the list of potential projects from the proceeds of the fourth Penny for Pinellas. On July 18th, 2017, City Council approved a list of projects to be potentially funded from the proceeds of the fourth Penny County Local Infrastructure Sales Surtax, better known as the Penny for Pinellas. At the time, this exercise was part of a county marketing initiative to help garner support for the passage of the fourth penny by describing what we would do with the money. Subsequently, the voters of Pinellas County approved this surtax for the surtax for its fourth decade via countywide referendum with nearly 83% support. The fourth or current penny runs from 2020 to 2030 and is intended to fund long-term capital infrastructure projects that support our local community. Since the council's original conceptual commitment to the fourth penny back in 2017, circumstances have changed, priorities have been updated, and in a few cases, we've received grant funding for major capital projects, along with a large gap between the grant-funded portion and the total project cost. There's a constant need for us to identify flexible sources of income to be used in support of completing these projects, which are crucial to our economic viability. Staff is currently recommending a revision to the original fourth penny list, which is attached, so that the council can see how we feel we can most successfully meet those needs over the course of the next decade. On a related note, finance staff recommended 2 actions that will dynamically increase our ability to fund some of these ever-changing needs. First, they discovered that for the first time in our history, interest rates have made refinancing existing state revolving loan debt possible. This has rarely ever been done because SRF loan rates are presumed to be much lower than market rates for the long-term bond issuance. At the time of the RO treatment water plant construction, some of our Penny for Pinellas proceeds were pledged legally towards the payment of that debt service. Refinancing, or in essence paying that SRF loan off, will accomplish 2 very important things. One, we will save over $100,000 during the course of the repayment timetable from the original debt. Secondly, and maybe most importantly for our conversation, the fourth penny proceeds previously used towards payment of that debt would no longer be legally pledged to it, therefore freeing up over $500,000 annually for use in the completion of other eligible projects. The Water and Sewer Fund is currently strong enough to make that adjustment, so the move makes good economic sense. Mayor, that concludes the reading of, it's not a resolution, it's just kind of a long-winded story asking for council approval to approve conceptually the list of the revised projects, which, as you'll see, we did based on a percentage of the county's estimate on what the proceeds would be. I can tell you straightforwardly that the county's estimate for all four pennies has been overly positive. So we should not assume, we tend to average $1 million to $1.5 million per year. We have never gotten $1,750,000, which is what they've suggested we were going to get every time we do this. So we thought the better way to go would be list the projects based on where we think council priorities lie and say we'll commit X percent of whatever we do get to work towards making those projects a reality. As several people had mentioned, the build out of the Black Box Theater is one possibility. So we're asking simply for you to approve the concept of our revised version of that spreadsheet. Not legally binding. You know it'll be approved through the budget process with specifics. Just kind of us saying this is what we want to do with the money for whatever we get.
Very good, very good. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised list of potential capital projects to be funded from the fourth penny for Pinellas.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would just like to commend whoever's idea it was to refinance that loan and get us $500,000 of extra money. I think that might be Cindy over there. That was, definitely a surprising benefit of COVID, I guess. I mean, if you could even say that there's any benefit of COVID, is that why? Because the interest rates are so, because the interest rates are so low? Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Because that's $500,000 right there.
Yeah, well, and the significance also is not having to commit the money and have some latitude to
Right.
use it for other things. Any other discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item 12.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 12 is request council approval to authorize the city manager to execute a 5-month extension to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection Grant Agreement, number LW690, the Cypress Forest Park renovations, which is, as we all know, the spray park. 2019, the city was awarded a $200,000 matching grant from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the renovation of Cypress Forest Park with a completion date of May 31st, 2021. The project includes renovations to the restrooms, a boardwalk, picnic area, spray park, and the construction of a small play area and wetland viewing platform. Renovations to the restrooms and picnic area are complete. The materials for the boardwalk, play area, and wetland viewing platform have been purchased. Demolition of the spray park has begun, and the installer has placed the project on their schedule. However, as a precaution due to the backing on installations by the water park vendor, the city requested and was approved for an extension to complete the grant, an extension to the grant agreement so that we can have till October 31st, 2021 to complete the project without subjecting the funding to the possibility of not receiving it.
Right. This is starting to feel like Douglas Road, I don't know.
On the road.
I'm sorry. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second, further discussion.
So excited for this project.
Yeah,
Cannot wait.
it's good. All right,
great
sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 13.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13 is authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance annexing 3172 Huron Avenue West, Oldsmar, Section 1, Block 17, Lot 18, or parcel ID 22-28-16-96660-017-018 into the corporate limits of the city of Oldsmar. Pretty straightforward. The property is to be annexed and located in West Oldsmar, which is an unincorporated area of Pinellas County. The subject property is currently developed with a duplex. Staff report is attached. It's another one, hopefully, to get us towards 100%. We're well over 50% of the acreage and the parcels with the passage of this, and staff recommends approval.
Outstanding. The chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
One at a time.
Thank you. There it is. There it is. Now I sense you're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is authorize the city attorney to prepare ordinance LUZ 20-06, the Oldsmar Track LLC parcel rezoning from C2, which is commercial general, to C3, commercial wholesale and warehousing zoning district on the south property. The entire flea market property, which this refers to, is approximately 19.46 acres in size, is the largest commercial site as you enter the city limits from Tampa Road and Racetrack Road. For the past 30 years, the site has operated as a flea market with several permanent retail businesses, multiple flea market weekend booths. Applicant is proposing to rezone the southern 13.45 acre portion of the site. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from commercial general C2 to C3. The commercial wholesale and warehousing district zoning district on the south parcel for 13.45 acres is subject to the following conditions. Should the proposed use for the subject property not be compatible with the retail and services category under the countywide rules, a land use amendment would be required. Future site plan approval is subject to the Tampa Road corridor requirements. Staff recommends approval, and we do have a brief staff presentation, which I'm asking our new interim planning and zoning director, Ms. Tatiana Childress, to make for us. Tatiana?
All right. A little applause. Congratulations on the temporary
Thank you, Mayor.
appointment.
So I'm Tatiana Childress, newly appointed interim planning and redevelopment director. I will present a brief presentation on the rezoning of the flea market site. This is going to be for the southern parcel, 13.45 acres from C2 commercial general to C3 commercial wholesale and warehousing district. The site is located on the northwest corner of Tampa Road and Racetrack Road. The entire property is approximately 19.46 acres in size, with northern parcel being 6.01 acres and southern parcel of 13.45 acres. The current zoning and land use for the northern parcel has a zoning designation of M1, which is limited manufacturing. Southern parcel has a C2 commercial general zoning and CG commercial general land use. Under the countywide rules, the land use designation is retail and services with employment overlay. This slide provides a visual of what the future land use, future zoning map would look like if the current amendment will take place. So it will be a change from C2 to C3. Proposed zoning. C3, commercial, wholesale, and warehousing district per Land Development Code 5.7.4. This district is established to provide suitable areas for wholesaling, distribution, storage, and general services of a type and intensity requiring convenient access to principal thoroughfares and railroads. This district is intended as a distribution and storage center for products sold or serviced to a retail or wholesale, to a consumer, sales outlets, or wholesaler. Such district shall be so located in the community as to ensure that the flow of heavy trucking to such an area will not be through residential district. No changes to the land use will be required because most of the C3 uses are allowed under the countywide rules retail and services use designation. C3 uses are permitted under the current M1 limited manufacturing district, which is the current zoning of the northern portion of the flea market site. The C3 zoning is a transitional district from the M1 uses to the north and C2 to the south and west. The following slide provides the surrounding property, which includes industrial to the north, commercial to the south and west, including gas station, bank, retail, office, public storage facilities, and also some retail on Hillsborough County side. This is just a visual of all of those surrounding uses. The future steps. Council approval of a site plan is required for any development of this property since it's located along the Tampa Road corridor. The site plan will have to comply with the Tampa Road corridor requirements. During the site plan review process, the Land Development Code requires concurrency review and will evaluate the impact to the public facilities, including sanitary sewer, water usage, or traffic generation. Based on the above discussion and review against the standards outlined in section 3.15.3 of the Land Development Code, staff recommends conditional approval of the rezoning from commercial general C2 to C3 commercial wholesale and warehousing district, southern parcel 13.45 acres, subject to the following conditions. Should the proposed use for the subject property not be compatible with the retail and services category under the countywide rules, a land use amendment would be required. Proposed uses are subject to Tampa Road corridor requirements. Thank you.
Very good. All right.
Thank you,
All right, let me get my list of questions out that I prepared for you today. I'm just teasing you. All right. Do we have a motion to start with? I don't think we do. All right, so I'm going to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
I would just
Any
like.
questions?
I would just like to say that I'm happy that they're gonna have to comply with the Tampa Road corridor for the Tampa Road portion of it. And I think that having it have different zonings on this piece of property has really kind of, made it difficult for them to come up with anything that they would want to put on that property. So I'm just really glad that it's gonna be the Tampa Road corridor.
Very good.
Requirements.
Very good. City Manager?
Mayor, just want to apologize. I neglected to say that the planning board did review this and approved it unanimously.
Yep. Very good. Any other questions?
I just want to say, I think this is great. I think it's an asset to our city, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
All righty. Any other discussion? All right. Well, thank you very much. You did an excellent
Thanks,
job.
Tatiana.
First one at bat was a home run. All right. No more discussion. Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 15.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15 is request council approval to waive bid requirements and approve the purchase and installation of fencing material on the Oldsmar Sports Complex property, specifically baseball, softball field number 4, and also the Sheffield Park tennis courts from Smith Fence per the pricing terms and conditions of the Pinellas County contract number 178-0122-B on piggyback form 19-024. Throughout the city, there are upgrades to various sports venues that require the replacement of fencing material to maintain a safe playing area while also enhancing the aesthetics of the respective facility. 2 venues that have been identified were previously mentioned. At both locations, the need exists for post and rail replacement as well as the replacement of the fence fabric. The cost of the baseball softball field project, is $41,803.30, and funding is available fiscal year 2021 budget from the Oldsmar Sports General Ledger account, and the Sheffield tennis funding is available in the sum of $18,086.82, and staff recommends approval.
Very good. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
That's a lot of fence.
A lot of fence,
It's another gut punch.
a lot of digging holes.
Have I ever told the story about what it cost to fence in the dog park?
No.
40 grand.
Which one?
The big one.
Oh,
I used to have that little one. I worked on that project.
Imagine what that would cost now.
wow.
Yeah. Hey, one of those cabanas out there at Ariola's cost 25 grand.
Yeah.
And that's if we build the kid.
My yard fence was
I remember that one.
3,800.
Crazy stuff. Crazy. Things are expensive, man.
Build
What
it
can
to
you say?
last.
That's it. All right, since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 16.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 16 is request council approval to waive bid requirements and award PACE Analytical Services Incorporated, the Environmental Laboratory Testing Services contract utilizing the Lake County contract number 17-0823 and the City of West Palm Beach contract 20600 on piggyback form 18-020. The extensive environmental laboratory testing is required as a condition of the city's Florida's Department of Environmental Protection and Southwest Florida Water Management District operating permits for the water, wastewater, and reclaimed water systems Various routine testing is required for water production and distribution, wastewater treatment and industrial pretreatment program, reclaimed water, aquifer storage and recovery, groundwater monitoring, underground injection of reverse osmosis concentrate, and as a result of construction activities. Most of the required lab services are covered under the West Palm Beach contract. However, the Lake County contract will be utilized for bacteriological, sulfate, and total dissolved solids testing. The Lake County contract extension includes a 1% increase as allowed by the original contract. Pace Analytical Services Incorporated has a local lab located on Bayview Boulevard in Oldsmar, and Pace has satisfactorily been performing these testing services for the city utilities under these contracts since September 1 of 2018. Total project annual laboratory service expenses citywide are projected at $110,850. Funds are spread in various places in the budget and all in Fund 401, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion. Got to keep an eye on it.
All those chemicals.
Nerd is not going to make it. No, I'm not going to make any comments.
Wondering if
What's the chemical of the month?
I was going to say so moved says the
You're all
science
looking that
nerd,
way.
but Andrew beat me to it.
All right, since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item 17.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 17. Can you sense the sarcasm? Request council approval of COVID-19 Pinellas CARES Agreement, again, for city's revised subrecipient agreement. On March 13th, 2020, the President of the United States declared a nationwide emergency declaration of a public health emergency for COVID-19. The city of Oldsmar, by and through its actions in preparation for and response to the COVID pandemic, may incur considerable expenses, in fact, have incurred considerable expenses, which are eligible for reimbursement through an allocation of the Coronavirus Relief Fund as created, Section 5001 of House Resolution 748, which is an act of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or as we know it, the CARES Act. The attached revised subrecipient agreement received from Pinellas County is substantively the same as the one presented to and approved by council on the special meeting held December 10th of 2020. However, this revised version increases the amount of grant funds the city may receive from previously $186,003.35 to potentially $308,750.50. The subrecipient agreement is the basis for the overarching reimbursement program and provides for reimbursement of COVID-related expenses. Payments will be based on 100% of actual expenses submitted to the county for the reporting period and not reimbursed from other grant funding, to be verified by the county's consultant as listed to be eligible in the March 19th, 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Protective Measures Eligibility Guidance from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Staff recommends approval. To be honest with you, this is taking advantage of the possibility that we could be eligible for more funding. Do I think that's going to happen because of the timeframes of the eligibility now? No, but we want to be positioned in case, because the county has already changed the terms of this agreement twice, both at the last minute, that we want to be positioned for that, that if they change the eligibility criteria, that opens up more possibility for us. We want to be able to submit those expenses.
Very good. Do you know whether or not the county got the extension from the federal government on the funds they received?
I don't
From CARES
believe it
money?
was mandated. Maybe this would be time to see if Donnelly's still awake. Donnelly?
Donald.
I'm still here.
Hear the question?
Did you hear the question I had? The question I had was, do we know whether or not the federal government extended the timeline for Pinellas County to use the CARES funds? Because I'm assuming that's where this money would come from.
I do not know that answer.
Okay.
We'll find out,
I was
but I
curious.
was not aware that they had, and I might be confusing it with another feature of our ability to extend some of the benefits out of the act, which was not mandated, but it was allowed. May not be the same thing. but I'll get
No,
back
it's
to you on
not. They originally, the money they received, which was what? Was it 70 million or 80? It was in that range that they received and had to have been used by the end of the year. And I know we had a conference call with Bilirakis, and he was trying to work, a bunch of people were frankly trying to get it extended, but in any event. Because the significance of that is, of course, they might be more prone to try to distribute that money within the county quicker.
Yeah.
You know, in any event. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, motion passes. Is that it?
So thank you, sir.
That's all you got? Just 100 items? I'm sorry. Giving you a hard time. City clerk.
Keeping it light. Happy New Year.
All right. Item 18, approved tentative agenda for January 19th, 2021. Is there anybody who wishes to pull anything? Okay, then the chair will entertain a motion to approve as presented. I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any further discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Council comments, I'm going to start with the vice mayor tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday, and I wish you all a very happy new year. I don't have much as things were pretty quiet for me along the holidays, which was a nice change. I did want to make it a point to thank Leisure Services for the many events y'all put on just prior to Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's, and I just really appreciated those events near our home so we could stay home and be safe but still feel kind of festive. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to the folks over in Nan's Department of Public Works. We've received, gosh, at least 4 or 5 comment cards back complimenting the services provided by our public works staff to various citizens. It's always so nice to see that positive feedback, and it is consistently positive. I wanted to let you guys know that the first Leadership Pinellas event, the first program days, is next Wednesday, and wouldn't you know it, it's North County Day.
Yep.
Hey! So we're gonna do Dunedin, Tarpon Springs, and Oldsmar. So I feel really excited because I kind of get to brag on us right out the gate a little bit. So
Very good.
looking forward to that. So.
You going to zip line? What are you doing?
They haven't told us yet. It's a mystery.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
little bit different this year because, like, for the first month or so, we're all going to be driving ourselves individually because they're worried about people on a bus or, you know, the trolley. So we're all going to be driving individually, and, you know, there's going to be some different restrictions to keep us all safe. For example, you might not realize there's only 22 members of this year's class, so it's literally half.
Right.
So that if we had a 56-person bus, you could have enough space between all of the people on the bus so that we could all be safe. So they're doing a really great job, little things like that. The retreat in December was fantastic. I didn't get a chance to tell you about it. Just one quick summation will give you a feel for how wonderful it was. They had several excellent speakers. Well, I mean, I'm talking TED Talk speakers. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. I met so many people. The leadership there is amazing. But one thing really stuck with me, and his advice and new way of thinking about leadership was just amazing. He said, you know, find out, look for the thing that you are the best in the world at, and do only that. Don't spend time thinking about the things you need to improve, the things you need to get better at. You know why? Because leadership is about being a part of a team. And there is somebody else that's the best in the world at the things you're not. And that's how you figure out the best way to lead is to build a team. Because you don't have to be the best at everything to be a good leader. But you do have to surround yourself with the people who are the best in the world at what they do. And I just thought that was incredible. I thought that was amazingly freeing to think that you don't need to necessarily spend so much time thinking about your faults and the things you need to do better on, because it's pretty likely that the people sitting next to you, you know, even up on this council, have those strengths that you might be missing. But if you do spend the time focusing on the things that you are really good at, then you're giving everybody the benefit of that. And the same goes for everyone else. You would think that everybody in there would have the same sort of printout on the strengths scale, you know, that analysis test that you do, and everybody was all across the board. People were strong in all kinds of different areas. I was Of course, a communicator.
What a surprise.
Shocking.
Wow, the mayor could have filled that out for you. No, I'm just kidding.
It was absolutely fantastic, and I feel privileged to be a part of it.
Well, good.
Thank you all.
Good. It's such an excellent group. Felicia and I are a part of the committee for North Pinellas Day.
Oh, so you'll be there next week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's see. Councilmember Norris.
Oh, okay. The biggest thing I want to do is congratulate Administrative Services, for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for 29th year in a row, and then also the Distinguished Budget, right? That's another thing. It's amazing. I mean, I think that's so important in a city for us even as citizens to know that our taxpayers' dollars are being looked after. They are, the budgets are right. We're not, it gives me a lot of comfort to know. And for 29 years in a row, that's awesome. And I have to mention the Buccaneers, okay? You guys all know I've been a season ticket holder for longer than Andrew's been alive. And we made the playoffs for the first time in 13 years. And we have to Councilmember Saraki and I have a dream scenario for the Super Bowl, the Bucks and the Bills. Okay, now we differ on who we want to win. But so that was really exciting this weekend for us to finally get into the Super Bowl and to finally get into the playoffs. And I mean, for us to have a home, it's going to be almost impossible for us to have a home game, but we could, if the Rams and the Bears win, we could have a home game, and the Bucks win, we could have a home game. So I wanted to definitely have a shout out for that. And then definitely Happy New Year. And these holidays were for the first time in my life, I didn't get together with my family for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's. We Zoomed. We Zoomed from all over the country. And at least we could do that. We couldn't get together, but at least we could Zoom. I did have I'm a cat person. I know I'm one cat short of crazy. Now I'm 2 cats short of crazy because one of my kitties died, and it was really, really hard. And thank you, Felicia. Felicia gave me a lot of solace and everything. And I know that might sound silly to say, but when you lose, it's a family member. And it was, really hard for me. But 2021 has absolutely got to be better than 2020. I can't imagine any year being worse than 2020 for any of us. And the last thing I wanted to say is I went out today just to do some errands, and I noticed that people are getting complacent with social distancing and masks. I didn't even walk into a few establishments. So please stay vigilant because the numbers are spiking. We don't have our, vaccine yet for those of us yet. Some people can get it, but please stay vigilant until we can all get vaccinated. So that'll be my last message. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. Reordering some things around.
What'd you say?
Reordering my notes.
Tonight.
Oh.
First off, I'd also like to echo what the Vice Mayor said about leisure services. Specifically, I'd like to call out the golf cart parade. That was a blast to participate in. I did not participate in the first one, but the second one was outstanding. I think it shows a lot of promise for an event that can morph into something more in the future when crowds are more of the norm. So again, thanks to the city staff for that. Secondly, this is kind of a nitpicky thing. I feel like I'm channeling an inner Jerry Beaverland or something. I'm sure some other people have noticed it. It's just my attention to detail with the street lights. I know that there's not probably much we can do, but driving down different streets, especially Tampa Road, and sometimes you hit that hyper blue new LED that just it's all over the place. We got a spectrum of a rainbow out there. So it's something to keep in mind. I don't know if there's anything we can make to a change there, but it's a nitpicky thing.
Just hope that the old ones burn out fast.
I do not.
Oh, said that. I'm like, don't say it. Don't do it.
I do not.
Everybody was thinking.
Plausible
It
deniability.
might depend on the road.
Very much so. The third thing, I wanted to say thank you to Jeff Rosenfield with Suncoast News with the story he put out covering my experience with COVID. That was really well put together. Thankfully, My wife and I went through it as well as my daughter, and we got through it okay. I know several others haven't. I didn't spread it to anybody, thankfully, and my sister did come down with it. She had a bit of a rough patch with it too, but she's okay now. So thanks again, Jeff. I really appreciate that. And then finally, Happy New Year. I figured I wanted to share a couple of my resolutions because it helps me be accountable for them. So if you'll indulge me. A couple of the things, it's just in general resolutions are people want to make improvements to their life in general. Some of it for me is physically. So we've had a Peloton out at our house for a little while. So my goal is to, one, maintain a 52-week streak on the Peloton for this entire year.
Tread or the bike?
The bike.
I have the tread.
You have the tread, so she knows
We're gonna see you on
the
leaderboard.
addiction.
Now we have to exchange leaderboard.
We will.
names.
We'll have to get on the leaderboard. Number two is I was originally signed up last year to run a half marathon, but then my wife was pregnant, so we deferred. Kind of convenient, but so now I will be running a half marathon in October, and then my other commitment, the biggest one of them all, is try to run a triathlon in November. So, if you see me not being active, get on me.
Marathon are you registered?
I haven't registered for it, but that's the part of the commitment is I gotta pick it.
With you.
Oh no, half marathon. Sorry, I thought you said triathlon. Half marathon is the best damn race, Safety Harbor.
Oh, I'll run it with you.
That was supposed to be, normally it's in February, but they pushed it out for COVID
Be your
reasons.
accountability.
I'm down.
So after Ann finishes the minutes for this meeting, you'll have to print that page out and put it on your fridge.
Yep.
Because that's accountability right there.
That's
You just told the whole
accountability.
city of Oldsmar.
That's why I'm putting it out there. So. I'm
Good
locked
for
in.
you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good job, good job. Councilmember Saraki.
Mayor, I don't have much, but I just want to say thank you. Congratulations to Cindy on your award. Great job as always. The other thing, I want to thank Al and the city staff for the repairs that you did to Eastlake Oaks, the speed bumps that were falling apart after 20-some years, and the repairs to the potholes in our streets. So thank you very much for taking care of that. The neighbors are happy, and everyone's excited that their cars aren't falling in the holes anymore. So thank you. Other than that, Happy New Year, everyone, and let's have a successful year. That's all, Mayor.
Very good. I do have a few items. I was on a Zoom call today with Tracy West, who is the director for the Valspar Championship Tournament. And I said that I would share, their Copperhead Charities does an awful lot of donating money and funds back to charities as a result of the golf tournament. They are going to have the golf tournament this year. They feel very strongly about that. There's going to be some limitation on the attendance. But they need volunteers, and it's a great way. There's a lot of different ways to volunteer. You have to volunteer so many hours, but you get a pass, which means you can go for free, right? Depending on what you can get your volunteer hours done. But they bring a lot of money to the area. It was funny, we were talking about, earlier, we were talking about hotel nights and that kind of stuff. They're another event that our hotels will book out for, right? Our restaurants get full for. It's that kind of event. And so it'll be interesting. And it's not necessarily, what she told me today was, here in Oldsmar, it's not necessarily all the attendees, because I assumed with the change in number who are allowed to attend, she said it's all of, they really press, Valspar really presses their vendors to be sponsors and come. And so a lot of them, they use the Oldsmar area. So in any event, I thought I'd point that out. It's April 29th through the 2nd. So if you're interested, you can go to their website and learn more about it. I know we've talked about it, everyone's talked about it. I won't continue too much on it, but I just wanted to acknowledge all the hard work that's gone into the holidays in a very difficult time where Leisure Services, I think, has stepped up and really done a good job of kind of recreating, reimagining, whatever you want to call it. The golf cart parade was a blast, a lot of fun. I noticed that, I don't know, I think all the council members' names were on the naughty list. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Was the mayor's name on the notice?
the mayor did not make that list.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That might be because the mayor made that list, no. Anyhow, but it was terrific and lots of great feedback from our citizens on it. So it doesn't go unnoticed. I did want to make a comment on the vaccine and a little bit, some of you may have got this from Commissioner Eggert's office earlier tonight. The Florida Department of Health, Pinellas County, is the one who's handling the vaccines. I know that Al and Felicia, I think, are on some of those calls. Maybe not that call, but the emergency response calls. And so our population in Pinellas County of 65 and older is approximately 260,000 people. And disappointingly, they only received 3,000 vaccines, 3,000 doses. So I think where some people were going on to the site to try to register, you know that they started doing that and they couldn't. I think it sounds more, well, it sounds more like all 3,000 doses were gone like that. Now, that's good and bad. It's good, I think, in a sense that people are willing to go and they're taking it serious. They want to get vaccine. It's bad because there's just not enough supplies out yet. They are ready, willing, and able as soon as they get in more supplies, but keep checking it. I don't know if they're going to continue to take appointments, but you could go to Pinellas County and if you surf the web, you'll find where the I think ours is fixed. I think Hillsboro's is not fixed, but I shouldn't say that in case I'm wrong, but that's what it sounds like. Just a quick comment on the town center and the year and all that. What a crazy year for everybody that there's just been, that we've gone through. Certainly, a focus of ours has always, for this past year, has been the town center and finally making some noticeable progress on that. I think we have made progress on it. You know, we're dealing at a whole different level now. It's not like it was before we all started working on it, which was essentially nothing was going on with it, frankly. That's my opinion. So even in a year that we had shutdowns and like things that were much more priority than that, quite frankly, we still positioned ourselves well. I'm disappointed, as I said earlier, that we're not going with Simone Group, only because they are local. They've built 3 hotels in this community, so on and so forth. But I would rather it take us longer and have the right partners than find out later on over and over again that we don't. And so I do want to once again acknowledge staff's work on that, because we as a council haven't spent as much time working on it, but the progress that's been made has been a result of staff working on it. So I appreciate the work that our negotiations team has put into that.